Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Debbie and I am a money coach. And today I want to talk about a topic that has been on my mind for the longest time. I'm like, I want to break it down and I'm thinking about doing like a series. So today I was thinking about talking about credit card basics. And then in another show or video, I want to talk about how important it is to have a good credit score. And then, of course, after that, we'll talk more about credit card debt and any questions that anyone has. I'm happy to answer them today and moving forward. When I talk to people about their finances, so many times the questions go back to obviously their debt, but credit card debt. Credit card debt, I feel like we all get into it. At least that's how I feel. I feel like we all get into it. But in getting into it, sometimes you don't know what the basics are. And so I really like delved into this topic on on doing research because I really wanted to make sure I'm giving you the most updated information because things change throughout the years. And I know I've had credit cards since I was in college and I had no idea how to use them. So going from that when I was in college and charging things up and having no knowledge of how credit cards actually work to now being a money coach, like I'm so passionate about sharing this information with you guys. So before I get started, I'm just going to look at the comments real quick. Let's see. Hi, Valerie. How are you? Let's see. Okay. Oh. Oh, Rose Bunny is my 15-year-old daughter. She's listening and learning. Oh, you are so lucky. I have to really drill it into my daughter. Hi, how are you? She says, hi, everyone in Japanese language I'm learning. Wow, my goodness, you're smart. So, okay, so let's get started. My first credit card was a store credit card. And I feel like it's such a gimmick. And before I even get started, what I want to say is I use my credit cards. I'm completely debt free, but I use them smartly. And that's going to be another episode I'm going to have coming up because I want to talk about how to use your credit cards in a smart way so that you can gain the rewards and gain the points and the cash back. But today it's about the basics. So my first card was a store card. And I don't even remember how I even got it, but I remember that it was a JCPenney credit card. and I every time I'm shopping, I hear it and I hear it and it totally makes sense, right? So first of all, store credit cards are one of the highest interest rates, excuse me, that you can get. And they get you how? Because you have your items and you're at the register, and then they'll say to you, like, oh, do you have a store card? And if you say no, then the cashier starts telling you all about the advantages of the store card and they'll offer you like a 20, 25. I've even seen 30% interest, coupon for your purchase, right? So you're like, oh, wow, 30% off my entire purchase. Like, yeah, I'll apply. First of all, the cashier is probably getting some kind of incentive to do that. And the more people that they can get to be accepted for the credit card, more incentive that they get. Number one, right? And number two, if you were to get approved, let's say, and then let's say that then you hand them over your regular MasterCard, they'll probably tell you that the purchase that you're making right now does not qualify for that coupon, even though you were accepted to the credit card, because they want you to charge your entire purchase on the store credit card that you were just approved for. Why? Because just like every other credit card, they don't want you to pay off your balance by the end of the billing cycle. And I'm going to get into that whole thing right now. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I forgot to turn off my phone. There we go. So that's why they get you with the incentive. And that's why they are one of the highest interest rates that you can get. And I'm talking department stores across the board. And sometimes they'll tell you like, oh, we have an introductory rate of this. Yeah, but that's only temporary. Again, the introductory rate plus the coupon that they're going to offer you is an incentive for you to go ahead and put that whole purchase on that card. If you were to use another credit card after you were approved, they'll probably tell you again that that coupon doesn't apply. But what's still coming in the mail, right? You're still getting that credit card either way. So let me just look at the comments real quick here. Let's see. Oh, Valerie says her daughter's so smart. Yes, she is. Oh my gosh. I love that you guys have comments and conversations. Okay. So now I want to talk about, let me see, I have notes here. I have notes here because I didn't want to forget what I was saying. So credit cards are just like regular store cards as well. They don't want you to pay off the balance by the end of the month. They want you to carry that balance. And I really want to get into it because I really feel like that's where people don't understand how credit cards work. Okay. So they have what's called a grace period. Let's start there. A grace period is the date of the statement. So the date that the statement gets mailed to you to the date that the payment is due. They call that a grace period. And typically, credit cards are billed every 28 to 31 days. So the billing cycle is 28 to 31 days. And the grace period is from when you get the statement to when the payment is due. Okay. So let's say you have $500 that you've charged up in a month, just throwing out a number, and you get the statement in and you pay off that $500 before your due date, right? What happens? Nothing happens, right? You paid off your balance in full. One, you paid no interest on it whatsoever. Doesn't matter how high or low that interest rate is on that card because you only pay the interest rate when you carry a balance. So same scenario, right? You charge $500 and then you get your credit card bill in the mail and you say, instead of paying the $500, why don't I just pay $50? And then the minimum payment is really tempting. That's another thing because your bill is $500 right now, right? But they'll tell you, oh, $35 is all you owe for the month. So typical, I'm going to say college students, and I'm sorry because that's when I really got into it and how I learned like how credit cards work kind of was in college because my friends were charging things up and they were saying, all I have to do is pay $35. All I have to do is pay the minimum payment. And I was like, that's so cool. You bought $100 worth of stuff and you have to pay $20, $35. Like, that's great. No. Okay. That's why people stay in debt for so long because people start charging up credit card balances higher and higher and higher and only making the minimum payment. It's a psychological game. It's like in your mind, you're like, I'm paying my bills. I'm paying my bills. But you're really not. What you're really doing is just maintaining that. You're just maintaining it without getting a late fee. But your balance is going higher and higher and higher, and you're getting more and more into debt. One thing that people really don't understand that I talk to about credit cards and seems to be like a common question that I get is how does interest rate actually work? This I hope I can't wait to find out from you guys because this is the part where I'm just like I feel like I'm gonna blow your mind a little bit. Okay, same scenario, right? You charge $500. You got the bill and you paid $50, right? So now you have a $450 balance left on the card. So do you think you start paying interest from that moment? No. An APR is, I don't know if you've heard of that term, but when you get a credit card, they'll tell you the APR is this interest rate, is this percentage, and your interest rate is this percentage, right? The APR is a percentage that gets broken down, that they break down by month, by week, and by each day of the calendar year. So from the moment that you made that $50 payment, you had $450 left over that was going to then get moved to the next billing cycle, right? But the interest rate, the minute you didn't pay that whole amount due by the due date, the interest rate goes back and starts from the date of purchase. So now they've gone back 28 to 31 days from when you originally bought it, and you start accruing that daily APR or interest rate on that purchase from the day you bought it through your billing date. Now you're carrying that $450 balance to the next billing cycle, right? And now let's say you're buying something else and now you bought another $50 worth of stuff. That $450 is now back to being $500, right? So you're thinking to yourself, okay, now from that billing cycle to when I get my new bill for $500, like there's going to be a grace period there where I'm not going to get charged interest, right? No, that's how they get you. The grace period originally, right? When you had a zero balance and you used the card up for the first time, that is the grace period if you would have paid off the entire $500. The minute you didn't do that, interest went from date of purchase. Now from that billing cycle to the next billing cycle, when you charged up that extra $50 and now you're back to $500, you're now paying that interest rate from the date of that purchase as well. That's how they get you. That's how they get you. That's why they make the minimum payments so small. But you don't know, some people don't know that you are actually being charged your daily APR or interest rate from the date of purchase the minute you didn't pay off that whole bill. That's why so many people that are credit card debt free continue to use their credit cards, because they use it what they believe is in a smart way. And I'm one of them, to be honest with you. I have reward cards, and I'll get into that in another video. But I have reward cards and I use up my rewards and I pay my bill at the end of the month. So I don't get hit with a fee. I don't get hit with interest, and I gain the rewards. So credit cards are not like, they're not the enemy, but by using them in a smart way, you can really benefit from it. But if you are charging things up that you can't afford, then the least you need to know is the basic information, so that you can then realize when you're looking at this bill, you're just not looking at that little square that's on typically the right-hand corner of the bill that says, what your charge is, what your interest is, and what your new balance is, right? What happens if you forgot or didn't have the money when you got that bill and you didn't make even the minimum payment? The exact same thing happens, right? The APR or interest rate starts getting charged from the date of purchase, right? So go back 30 days from the date of purchase. But then now they're going to hit you with a late fee. And they're going to also temporarily, most cards, I won't say all cards, because I know like one or two cards give you like a little bit of a grace period where they're not going to do this. But most cards, they have a different interest rate. And that's the one, they call it a penalty rate. And that's the one that'll get charged to you from the date that you missed the payment going forward. Temporarily, they do it for, I think, a billing cycle. As long as you make your next payment, that goes down. But temporarily, your interest rate went up for that next billing cycle. Am I making sense? I hope I am. Hold on one second. Let me just see here real quick. Rosie says, wow, I know. But these are things that aren't explained to you. They're not explained to you. And I'm going to get into even more things that to me are surprising. The more I looked into it, I was like, if this was explained in high school, I really think a lot of us wouldn't be in credit card debt or ever have credit card debt. Tanya, to repair credit, would you recommend to keep one card or to pay all off? Tanya, that's such a great question. I really feel as though credit cards, like I said before, are not the enemy. I really feel like once you can pay off your cards, I would keep them. I would keep them for many reasons. One, you can use them for your benefit. Again, talking about the rewards, cash back, things like that, travel rewards. Oh my gosh, I should do a whole video on how much I saved when we went to Disney in 2019. It was insane. But the other reasons are also because if you stop using your cards, that can actually affect your credit score. So again, I'm going to cover that in another video. But I would credit repair. I think if you mean by a credit card repair company, I really feel like you can do it yourself. There are so many things that you can do to help your credit, and I don't feel like you need to go and pay an agency or a company to do it, because there are pitfalls to that you might not realize when you're signing up for, that can definitely cost you even more money, more time, and can affect your credit score. Hi, Helter Skelter. How you doing? Let's see. Valerie, that's exactly what I said. They should teach this in high school instead of calculus. Oh my gosh. I think my high schoolers in the next room going, yes, that's exactly right. Okay. I literally am on my second page of I haven't even had to look at my notes because this is how I feel. Okay. All right. Oh, I cover. Okay. Balance transfers. Okay. I really want to talk about this for a second. It's a term that you hear about a lot, when you're watching these credit card companies do their commercials on whenever you're watching TV. So what it is, and people too much, and I feel like I need to complicate it tiny bit so you understand better. Let's say you have a credit card, and we'll put $10,000 on that card, right? And you're paying 16% interest on that card. Okay. If you are offered a credit card with an introductory rate of 0%, typically for, let's say, 9 months. Okay. I'm just throwing out numbers. What they will offer you is to take a high interest balance, like the 10,000 on that high interest credit card that we're just talking about. And they'll offer you the opportunity to take that balance and to move it to the introductory rate of 0%, right? Some credit cards will even say that there's no transfer fee. There's no fees at all. This is a zero free offer for however many months. Let's say 9 months, okay? There are so many things like I feel like you need to know before you even consider this, because there are so many pitfalls to this. Number one, why would a company offer you the opportunity to take money that you owe someone else and now owe it to them, and for 9 months charge you nothing? Why would they do that? Like, why? How would that benefit them, right? Because remember, they're not your friends. It's a business. So why would that benefit them? Sometimes on the second page of a credit card offer, you know how it's got those blocks with like the small print? You'll see that it's not 0% for a transfer fee. Sometimes it'll say things like $5 is the fee for every so many hundreds of dollars that you do, or a percentage, whichever one is higher, right? Typically, when you do a balance transfer from a high interest card to another credit card that's offering you a 0, there's going to be a fee to it. They need to make money off the top, right? Because for all they know, you'll declare bankruptcy and then they'll be out of that money. And the other credit card is out of that money. So you walked away, obviously, with a damaged credit, but it's a risk that they're taking by doing that for you. So they're going to definitely hit you with a fee. If they say they don't, read the fine print, because again, they're a business. But now here you go. Introductory rate, right? You're saving money in this scenario by taking the $10,000 and moving it to the 0% for 9 months. But the minute that you do that, the clock is ticking for you to pay off that $10,000 within those 9 months. Another piece of information that I really think is really important before you make a decision like this is what happens after the 9 months. They don't want to tell you what happens after the 9 months, because to them it's like, yeah, 0% for 9 months. Come here, you can pay off your credit card. What happens after the 9 months and 1 day? Typically, the interest will probably, I'm using typically and probably because I don't know every single scenario, will probably be higher than the interest rate you originally had on the other card. Because again, they took a risk on you, right? And life happens. So many people, as I have become a money coach and I've talked to more and more people about their budgets, so many times people feel as though they don't need an emergency fund because they have a credit card with a $10,000 available credit. So that's their emergency fund. An emergency fund is never a credit card. Never a credit card. And I say this and I say this as nicely as I can, no judgment at all. But it's never a credit card, because when you have an emergency fund sitting in your savings account, the interest that it's collecting, which hopefully it's in a high interest savings account, is yours. It's your interest. So you're making money off of your money. Not a lot, because interest rates aren't that great, but you're making money off your money. By having your credit card be your emergency fund, anytime you use it for an emergency, you are paying interest. So you're not making interest, you're paying interest. So that's not an emergency fund. It's not an emergency fund. And there's are statistics that say that most people can't afford to pay for a $500 emergency without charging it. So if you fall in that bracket and you can't afford a $500 emergency and you're going to put it on a credit card, then how likely are you to pay off that $500 by the end of the billing cycle without being charged interest? Right? Getting back to the balance transfer, I feel like I went, I could talk about this all day. With the balance transfer. So now you've taken the 10,000 and you moved it over to the 0%. Number one, what are the fees, right? So important to know. Number two, what happens after the 9 months? Because if you wait, an emergency happens, for example, and you don't pay off that $10,000 within the 9 months, now what is that going to turn into? How high is this percentage rate that's gonna hit you with it, that you're gonna get hit with? I have other alternatives. If you have a high interest credit card, I suggest that before you even think about doing a balance transfer, I suggest that you call up your credit card company. And especially if you've been making your payments on time, even if it's the minimum payments, you're showing them that you are responsible. You haven't been hit with any late fees or any late penalty rates. I would call up my credit card company and I would say to them, listen, I've been with you for however many years, and I've been a really good customer. Like, I am starting to really get tight with my money. I'm going through financial problems. I'm trying to get out of debt, whatever your situation is. And I would tell them, I would really appreciate it if you looked into lowering my interest rate and APR. Think of it as a business, right? Sometimes if you have a phone, let's say you have a cell phone with Verizon, Sprint is going to offer you a lower rate, right? Lower rate, more benefits, a lower cell phone or a free phone, because everything in this world, especially when it comes to money, is competitive, right? So your credit card company, if they knew that you were thinking about doing a balance transfer, and you can even tell them, I've been approved for this card, but before I do the balance transfer, I want to talk to you about lowering my APR and interest rate. They will more than likely work with you as long as you've proven that you're a good customer throughout. Again, if you've been late once in a blue moon, you can say like something happened, that caused you to be late. But for the most part, if you show them that you're a good customer and a good customer in standing with them, and that you've been dedicated to their company because you've kept their card for so long, they will more than likely work with you because they don't want to lose your business. And that $10,000 gaining interest every day, because of course, unless you charge $10,000 in 1 month, you've been accruing interest from the date of purchase, the original purchase. So they're making money off of you every single day. So they will more than likely work with you and try to lower that interest rate. Let's say you decide either way that you're going to do this balance transfer. The other part of a balance transfer that really, truly bothers me, again, with my money coaching hat on, is when something seems too good to be true, it always is. It always is. Unless you have a plan to pay off that $10,000 within those 9 months of that introductory rate, I would really reconsider it. Because if you, so much of credit card debt happens because of our money habits, because of our money mindset. And we have accumulated this debt, or probably have more than one card with a high balance, because of our habits, because of how we choose to do things, purchase things, we're having a bad day, retail therapy, things like that can really play games with your mind. We typically are in credit card debt. Typically, every case is completely different, but typically you've gotten there because of certain habits or spending habits that you have. So what bothers me the most about a balance transfer is this. You move that $10,000 from that high interest card to now this 0% for a 9-month card, right? But what happened to the original card that had the $10,000? That card is now at 0 on that balance. And it has a high available credit because you just had $10,000 on there that you just moved to the new card. Do you see what I'm saying? So now you're trying to pay off this card. You've got 9 months to pay off this card so that you don't pay a cent in interest. And you've got this card with a $10,000 at least available credit on it. What are the chances that you are going to pay off that $10,000 and not charge a cent to the other card? That's what bothers me about a balance transfer. Because what you're really doing, and again, you could take advantage of it. And yes, if you could pay it off in 9 months and the fees are not that high, that the transfer fees weren't high, I say go for it. If you can definitely do it, then go for it. But you have to keep in mind that this other card, it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist. Because then what's going to possibly happen is this card is going to start accumulating a balance because you haven't fixed the original problem, which is how did you get into that credit card debt to begin with? What were you spending? What are your habits? Do you budget? How is your money mindset? That's what bothers me the most about a balance transfer. And debt consolidation is another video all on its own, but it's pretty much the same concept. Someone is telling you that they're going to give you a loan and you're going to take all this credit card debt and you're going to put it in this one nice little wrapped loan for you. And then you only need to make one payment. Of course, you're paying high interest on that loan, right? But now you've got all the credit cards that originally got you into the trouble that you were in, and they all have a zero balance on them. I can't tell you many years ago when I did bankruptcy law, how many people were coming in to do bankruptcy because they had tried consolidation loans once, twice, 3 times, because they never, again, addressed the original issue. I don't want to say problem, but issue that got them there in the first place. I feel like I went into a little bit of a tangent here, but just want to make sure I have everything. One thing to keep in mind, and I'll leave you with this thought, is, like I said, before you think about the balance transfer, call your credit card company. One thing that some people don't consider is the fact that when you originally applied for a credit card, they looked at your credit score and credit history, right? If you didn't have much of a credit score, because we all have to start from somewhere, or you had a low credit score and they still gave you the card anyway, you're paying higher interest. Your interest rate is dependent on your credit score, which is kind of ironic, right? You need a credit card to establish credit, to establish a credit score. But your interest rate and APR for each card that you apply for are based on the interest rate that, are based on your credit score that you have. So by establishing a good credit history, by paying your bills on time, even if you're not paying the balance completely, even if you're carrying a balance month to month, by establishing a good credit payment, it boosts your credit a little bit as long as you maintain the cards at not a certain capacity, which again, I'll talk about in another video. I don't want to complicate things. But what people don't think about sometimes is you've had this card in your wallet for 3, 4, 5 years, right? And you pay it off, or you pay the minimum, however your circumstances are. But if your credit score has increased from the date that you originally applied for that credit card, you can ask them to lower your interest rate based on your credit score now. And that can save you money, especially if you're trying to attack your credit card debt. That can save you money. By making a simple phone call to each one of your credit cards, that can save you money. It really, really can. And yes, people will say that by them rerunning your credits, your credit score, it'll lower your credit score a little. But if you make those calls pretty much back to back, it won't happen. By the time your credit gets affected because of all the inquiries, you've now hopefully moved your interest rate lower, which means that you can pay off your debt quicker because it's less interest that you're paying them for your balance that you've been accruing month to month. I hope I've made sense. If anyone has any questions, please let me know, because this is such a complicated topic and I really wanted to, like I am with my finances all the time, I want to simplify things so that so that you can understand it. And I know if I throw too many numbers, I know I kind of get lost. So I hope that that I've helped explain things, but I'm just going to go to the comments real quick. Let me see. Rosie Bunny says, agreed. Oh, Granny Pepper, hi. Oh my goodness, I always get excited to see you guys. Yep, helter skelter. I don't like consolidation loans either. I really feel like if you really want to get out of credit card debt, then you can do it. I feel like you can do it. You can do it. Whether you decide to do a balance transfer, that's completely up to you. Now at least you have the information where you can make an educated decision based on how much you have and what penalties, transfer fees they're going to apply to you. So at least that way, at least you have that information so that you can make a decision that's best for you. But debt consolidation, I don't agree with it. I really, really, really don't agree with it because, again, it doesn't address the problem. And as I dive deep with my clients on their budgets, that's when we really get into the nitty gritty of it, like what got them there in the first place. And by having a budget, some people think a budget is so restrictive, but I disagree. A budget can be freeing. A budget can really have you start being responsible with your money and seeing what comes in. How can you reduce what you spend? Not completely frugally to the point where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not able to have fun. Opposite. So you can have money to have fun and get out of debt. It's so important. It's so important. I'm considering a secured credit card in the future. Helter skelter. That is awesome. Okay. Some people don't like to, some people that I know have started their credit history by having a secured credit card. I wish I would have done that because I had an offer right around the same time that I started my store credit card. And if I can go back and do things differently, I would definitely. I've never been in debt, but that's okay. A secured credit card is where you pay at least as far as when how it was when I was offered it, is that you pay the company. Let's say you pay them $200, and then now you have a secured credit card for $200, and so you can use that credit up until the amount that you gave them, and then it keeps going. It's to establish a credit score so that later on, when you decide to apply for credit, you have a good credit score, and then you can get an unsecured credit card, which are what most people have, is an unsecured credit card. So I hope that helps with that. Oh, thank you. Rosie Bunny says informative. Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. That's why I'm so passionate about this. That's why I'm a money coach, because I just want to help people, and I just feel like the more information you have, the better decisions you can make. And then next time that you decide to take out that credit card, you can think to yourself for a split second, like, am I going to have the money for this purchase by the end of the grace period when my payment is due? And hopefully that can help you avoid getting into further debt or getting into credit card debt at all. So thank you guys so much for watching live. And I'm so glad that it seems like I'm helping. I'm so glad. If you guys need help with your money mindset, with your money habits, getting out of debt, or living paycheck to paycheck, I'm going to leave a link to my calendar down below. Feel free to schedule a free call with me, and let's see how I can help. Guys, thank you so much for watching live, and anyone watching on the replay, thank you so much. If you have any further questions, feel free to leave them down below. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time. Bye. Bye, guys.